when you leave here today, okay, I'll give you an example of how that happens. Certain apps, you have the Kaiser app, I'm sure. So apps, you give apps permission to access your calendars. And the first time you fire up the app, it says, do you want to? Even sometimes you can do up notifications. It's wonderful. I flew on Southwest a couple weeks ago. I get to the airport. It shows up and Passbook says, oh, here's your barcode scan for your ticket. So things like that is the interaction. You give it implicit one-time permission in the beginning, and it'll do that. And how useful is that? It's great. And that's all this syncing happens. Now, they don't have access to your calendar. They have the ability to add something to your calendar, and only their stuff. So, and believe me, Apple, and that's where Kaiser's been pretty good. You know, their apps and things like that. This is the new kind of the technology that's helping in medicine, and I think that the streamlining of that's going to help dramatically. You know, in the Kaiser app, you can see what your test results have been for a long time and things like that that are, I think, very, very beneficial. And that's how part of the reason they can be as efficient as they are. And I think more and more medical is going to go with that. And that will bring us in a couple minutes to the Apple Watch, because I'm going to talk about the medical implications of the Apple Watch also. So I'm going to go into iCloud Keychain. Now, please do not do this here. Don't try, but you want to try this at home. This is one of these things where you can try this at home. We're going to talk about, everybody's pretty comfortable with the fact that our contacts go up there. We saw how our calendars will sync. Well, everyone loves passwords. Passwords are fun, and we never forget them. You can't have enough of them. Yeah, that's true. And and then, you know, and it's funny how the more passwords we get, the worse our memory gets. Let me, you know, this will bore some of the people that have been in my classes before, but I'm gonna, well, not unusual. I want to tell you how to make fairly secure, easy passwords. So, does anybody here use the same password most everywhere? It's okay. I'm like a doctor and lawyer and a priest. You can confess to me. She had her hand up and it went down. Right next to you, she had her hand up and it went down instantly. And now she's like avoiding me. She's pretending like she's writing down. Everyone eyes forward. Now, raise your hand if you use the same password in most places. Why do you guys feel bad about that? What's the problem with that? Anybody? What's the advantage, first of all? Never have to forget it, never write it down. Was it a question or you're...
I use the same password except for about half a dozen places like my bank stuff, which is separate.
Okay. I'm going to tell you to all use the same password. Remember I said convenience or security, right? So it's very convenient, but it's really lacking in security. So let's pretend that we use, let's use MacNexus. All lowercase. 1. Okay, if I use that everywhere, I'll never have to write it down, right?
Right.
Is it secure?
No.
How do I make, okay. So let's say I've got my Apple ID, which you can soon buy a $17,000 watch with your Apple ID. So if I want to make this be more secure, I put a prefix on here. I put capital A, P for Apple, MacNexus 1. So all I have to remember is if I'm at iTunes or iCloud or whatever I need my Apple ID, I do capital A, lowercase p, MacNexus 1. If I'm at Bank of America, what would it be? Capital B, lowercase a, MacNexus 1. If I'm at Amazon, what would it be? Capital A, lowercase m. If I'm at American Express, what would it be? It's no problem using the AM there again. You could do AX. Again, you'll have a little bit of crossover. This isn't ultra secure, but I guarantee it's more secure than what you're doing. And all you have to remember is here. Now, do not make this a word that's in the dictionary. And let's talk about why this is so important. If you stick with the same protocol, if I'm in Amazon, I just know it's capital A, lowercase m. If I'm at Wells Fargo, now in my mind I do WF, capital WF, but it could be capital WE. So if I screw up and WE doesn't work, WF will work. Be careful with that.
And change the S to a dollar sign.
You could, but MacNexus isn't in the dictionary. So, generally speaking, and Apple is one of them, requires 8 letters, or 8 characters, at least 1 digit, and at least 1 capital letter. Now, the reason I do this way is because think about our iOS device. You pull up the password, you tap the capital, it immediately makes a capital letter, and then the next letter, it automatically goes to lowercase, doesn't it? So then it taps lowercase, and then I have to flip my keyboard to the number. I can make this more secure, like she said, either put an @ sign here, or make this a dollar sign, or put a question mark at the end as a special character. But whatever you do, the way this works is stay consistent. Have a protocol. You know, these stupid companies that have these IT guys that say, you have to change your password every 30 days. Guess what happens? They write it down and stick it in their desk. And when Bob's away on vacation, somebody needs to get his computer, they just know to go into the desk and get his password. How hell secure is that? And you know that the bottom of an iMac is made for sticky notes, right? And we all have our passwords there, don't we? If you make this something you'll remember, you'll never have to write it down. I don't have to write down that AM is Amazon. It's pretty obvious. Amazon, capital A, lowercase m. Please. This, now, don't go change all your passwords. When you create new passwords, this will help you dramatically. It's not perfect, it's not super secure, but I'll bet you it's more secure than 95% that you have right now. And your email is the most important thing to protect. Your email is the key to the kingdom. If you're using the same password everywhere and on your email, go change your email tonight. And the reason being is, if we were ordering for Pizza Hut online, what would it be? Capital P, I'd put H, but we'll either be I or PH, okay? And then MacNexus. So let's say so we all know that when you sign on to a website, your username is usually your email address. So let's say MacNexus1 is my current password on my email. And I sign up for Pizza Hut home delivery, and my username is my Gmail address, and I use MacNexus1, just MacNexus1 as my password at Pizza Hut. The delivery driver who just got mad because he didn't get a tip, and he's sitting there late at night not doing anything, and he hacks into the system, and he sees that Mary Jane Adams at gmail.com is the username for somebody, and their password for Pizza Hut is MacNexus1. Well, then he says, well, maybe I can get into gmail.com using that same password. By having a PH in front, he won't realize that that's your thing in the front. That's why I don't publish this anywhere, because once they kind of get game to the system, but they still have to know what your middle password is. Make sure your email password is unique. For bank sites and things like that, you can also take and put a special character in it if you want that's unique to that. But if you keep with the protocol, you'll never have to write it down, you'll never forget it. That being said, Many sites have a thing that pops up and says, would you like Apple to self-complete this password for you? And it will be a virtually uncrackable password, which I guarantee you will never remember. But if you don't remember it, on the Mac, it's stored in a keychain and on your device. Go ahead.
So if I'm on my computer and I get that and I use the Mac or the Apple password, and I want to go to the same site on my iPad.
Hold your thought. I'm going there. I think he hacked into my computer and got my notes. So, we're going to talk about keychain. Our Macs have had a keychain for a long time. The easiest way for me to describe a keychain is, let's say that you own a bunch of apartments, an apartment complex, 360 units. And you did very well with Apple stock, so you could afford to buy the apartment complex. Well, let's forget master keys for a second, but let's say that every apartment has a unique key. Now, keys are passwords. That's what they really are. So, every apartment has its own key. Down in the office, in the manager's office, in a little box, locked box on the wall, is also keys to every apartment, right? So if the maintenance guy, again, we're forgetting master keys, needs to go do something in 3C, he goes down to the manager's office, walks into the manager's office and says, I'm working really hard for you today. I need to get into 3C so that I can fix the plumbing. The manager pulls out her key, puts it in the key box, opens it up, and gives him just the key to 3C, okay? So, that key box is keychain access in your Mac. And let's show you that in a second here, because this leads into the whole rest of this. Keychain access is an app. Now, I'm going to go into keychain access. I don't recommend you go into keychain access, but if you do, treat it as read only. Do not make any modifications inside there, because you'll blow it. I never do. I'm on a Mac. I just went up to the spotlight in the upper right and typed in KEYC, and I came up with keychain access. So I'm going to do this. I know our network here is E26. So Fireside E26, right? So you'll see here that this is Fireside E26. This is the Wi-Fi network. So I'm going to let you see the password to this Wi-Fi network because I wrote it right here. I'm not going to let you see my other passwords. But if we go in here, here it is on the iCloud. Login means on my computer. But if I go up here and I double click on that, and there's a little screen and it says show password. Okay? So it says show password. Oh, we got to go get the manager. We got to go get the key that the manager has to get into the key box, right? So now, is it asking me for the password to the Wi-Fi, or is it asking me for the manager's key? Right, so the manager's key is the password on my Mac. And now when I hit OK, this is the password that's stored for this device. That's why every time I come here, it automatically connects. It could be my password for Amazon. It could be the password for other things. It shows you usually your username, but in this case it's this. But that password shows up. Now, what do you think would happen if I went in here and changed this? If you change the locks on your house, you better give your spouse the new key or they're not going to get in. This could work to your benefit, but that's kind of up to you. I don't do marital relation things. That's you guys, your own decision. So, if I change it here, it does nothing. I have to change that little device over there and change the password there. But the beauty of it is, then I don't come in here and change it. What happens is, let's say I go to Amazon.com. In fact, let's do it. Amazon.com. It logs me in right away. Well, let's log out. I'm going to sign out. And look at this. It autofills my password, okay? it's getting that out of the keychain. So if I say sign in, boom, I'm in. Now, if I need to change my password, if I call the locksmith to come to my house, I need to go in here and change my password in Amazon. So if I do that, and now I go to log in again, what's going to happen? Because it's remembered the wrong password. But what happens is, this you should do all the time. If you go into an account and change your password, immediately log out, because this is the last time you're going to remember that password. Immediately log out, log back in with your new password, and then it'll say, do you want to update your password? And it will update it to the keychain.
Sometimes it goes to Safari.
Safari is the same thing. Safari keeps passwords too.
How do I know which is happening? Is it Safari or is it Keychain?
This is in Safari. Safari uses the keychain.
Okay, Safari is.
Yeah, and in the newer systems, the passwords are actually stored in Safari also. But the idea here is, let's say the guy needs to, the handyman needs to change the key at 3C. They've moved out, they're putting a new lock in, they're putting a new lock set in. So he takes the original 3C and opens the door. He's got a new lock set that has a new and different key. He puts that lock in, and that key works, but he still needs to go down and replace it in the manager's box so it will open 3C. So what you do is, as soon as you change a password on a place, log out, log back in, and instead of using the autofill password, you have to put in your new password you've just changed it to, and then say save that password or update that password, and it puts it into the keychain for you.
It asked me about if I want to update immediately when I'm
Update. Update.
Yeah.
Update is what you want to do, and that would change it.
But I don't have to sign out. It doesn't.
Well, some places do, but I'm saying best practice is to sign out. Now, best practice is to have a password you're going to remember. Okay, but in this case, you can do that. Now, the reason we're struggling through this now, and we're just talking about it. I know what a struggle it is for you guys with passwords. Keychain helps dramatically if you let it. You let it autofill. Let it do your passwords. Your computer is still protected with a passcode. Your iOS devices are protected. But the best part is, because we have a thing called iCloud Keychain, that manager's box follows you around wherever you go now, because if I create a new Amazon password on my Amazon account and I update it here, it will update the password here. Okay? Because the keychain syncs now just like the other, but we have to show you where it syncs. So if I go into System Preferences and we click on iCloud, there's a little setting down here that says Keychain. Don't do this here, please. This is what you're going to do at home. And what's going to happen is, it's going to say, well, so if it's on already, you're great. If it's not on, you're going to click on it and it's going to say, oh, well, let's go make sure that we know you have I want to make sure it's you, because the keychain passwords are pretty important. And if you go to your iOS device, it's going to send up a little note and say, is it okay for us to turn on iCloud Keychain on your Mac? And it'll ask you for your Apple ID password and put it in. Again, it's asking you for the manager's key, your Apple ID password. And then on the iOS device, come on, I got a quick reflector. Come on. There we go. There we went. Come on. Being stubborn. Let's see if it'll happen on here. There we go. So if I go to my iPad and I go into Settings and I go to iCloud, I have the ability to do Keychain here also. Okay? You have to have a newer operating system on both of these. But the beauty of it is, once I logged back into Amazon here or here the first time, it saves the new password in my keychain And now my keychain also updates all the other devices I have. Go ahead.
When do you open the app? When do you go to it every time you do it?
No, the first time, okay, so good question. When do you do this every time? No. Don't overthink this, you guys. Apple makes it simple. All the first time you do is, if you may have it on already, but otherwise, to initiate iCloud keychain syncing, you do it one time. Once it's done, as my passwords change on any device, it changes it on the other devices. Just like if you update somebody's phone number, it changes it on all your devices. Just like if I add an event, it changes it on all my calendars. You only have to activate it one time, but you physically have to go in here and turn it on, and there's going to be some little things you can go through. Another thing you can do is you can do a little passcode. You can make up a 4-digit code that it'll do it instead of the other devices. I don't want to turn mine off and turn it back on, but you guys will walk through it. It's pretty self-explanatory, and it's so handy once it's on. Robert?
As you combine keychains on your various devices, how does it handle the fact that, let's say, you've been to your bank on 2 devices?
I guarantee you use the same password to get into your bank.
Yeah, I would assume so.
But if you updated your Amazon password on your Mac, and it hasn't been updated on your phone, it senses your newest one and says, oh, that's the one we want to propagate to everywhere.
It picks the newest one.
Now, that brings up an interesting thing. Not all banks allow passwords to be stored. And many times, if you instigate iCloud keychain, it will require that you have a passcode on here and a passcode here. And I was one that was reluctant to put passcodes on here and passcodes here, but you know what? There's so much vital information on there now that I do it. It can be very simple, but it locks your stuff so people can't get into that stuff. When your computer boots up or when it wakes from sleep, or these devices, when you activate it, that it comes back on. So
So you put separate passwords for each device?
don't have to.
They really
But-
can't get in?
They can't get in.
You can't jailbreak somehow?
On your iPhone?
On my laptop?
On your iPhone, no. Your laptop, yeah. But you know, it's they physically have to have your device. They can't, hackers can't get in on a Mac.
They might take my device. If they take my device,
They'd have to know your password to get in.
I'm not gonna tell them.
Yeah, because if you're talking to them, you're not letting them take your device. There's ways to lock it remotely, but that's the only place you're at risk. As we get more and more fingerprint reading, it'll be better and better. Go ahead, Leslie.
So you recommend when a website says they want to save your passwords, you recommend letting them save it?
Of course.
Well, I've been afraid to do that.
And you have to pull out that little sheet, and you have to do all that. And frankly, it's up to you guys. I mean, but seriously, you could. Richard always promotes security, and Richard is the extreme. But ask Richard if he does what he says. I do what I say. So here's the deal. Richard's view of security is, as you drive home to your gated community, and you have concertina wire around your house, and you get out and unpadlock the gate, the manual gate, because these little things could, if you had an automatic gate opener, you go into your house, and you get out of your car, you walk out of your compound, go up to the bank, and put your car key in your safe deposit box. Get where I'm going? That's not very convenient. There's some risk to be assumed, but it's not incumbent on me to tell you what you should do. I'm telling you what I do. Now, depending on what you have in there, the more secure the better. But the nice thing is, like on my iPhone, which I have right here, I have it set to unlock by using my fingerprint. But look at how good American Express is getting with us. If I go here to my American Express app, of which I created a password for, using my password protocol, The nice thing is, give it a second. Oh, good morning. Watch what pops up. It wants my password.
Is that your fingerprint again?
That's my thumbprint. And it detects whether I'm alive or not. No one can grab my thumb and put it on there and make it work. Okay? So, my phone is locked with password and my fingerprint. It'll be coming to your Mac soon, I think. But that is pretty much uncrackable. Macs, if you have a password on your Mac, I can defeat your password. There are ways to do it because I have numerous clients, they forget their password and they can't update things. But if I can defeat your password to get in and reset it so you have no password so you can get into your Mac, I still can't get into your keychain. The keychain is stored on your Mac, and unless you have the password for the key, so your username, your user login is the same as your keychain. I can get in and reset your user login if you're totally locked out of the computer. I can see your documents and things like that, but I cannot get into your keychain unless I have the password you used when you created your keychain or what you updated to. It's locked. It's like if they lose the key to the manager's box, there's no way getting in it. Okay?
And is that the same password as to get into your computer?
Generally speaking, your keychain is the same as your computer. When I went in and I said, go get the manager's key, when I hit show me password, it does that. Now, that becomes, so remember, Apple's running this battle all the time. Apple cares about you as the user and they want to make it be convenient for you, but they also want to make sure it's secure because believe me, if something happens or something gets hacked, they're going to blame Apple. It's Apple's fault. And most of the time it's user error. Like I talked to you earlier about the whole ApplePay scenario where it was the bank and their verification process that was the chink in the armor there that made it not work. And it wasn't ApplePay. ApplePay is as secure as it can be. So you got somebody to...
Is there a Dave Martin in here? No? Okay.
Sorry. Thanks, Bob. So iCloud Keychain helps dramatically because I don't have to re-enter my passwords on my other devices. Now, it rarely ever fills in your Apple ID password. Apple keeps that as very protected, sacred ground. Luckily, we can use our thumbprint for it sometimes.
Yeah, is Dashline?
Let's not even talk about other password things. There's Dashline, there's 1Password. We can get stuck in all of that. I use iCloud Keychain because it's supported by Apple and it works.
You don't bother with it, so.
No, it used to be before we had iCloud Keychain, though I never bothered with it because I remember my passwords and I use my password protocol, so I really don't have to remember my passwords. But Dashlane, LastPass, 1Password are very good, but was there a learning curve on anything we did here? There's learning curves on Dashlane, 1Password, etc. So I don't. If you're already using it and you already know how to use it, continue to use it, and they work in concert. That's fine. But I just really, really, really support iCloud Keychain over there and then there. Go ahead.
I just want to lock in the learning curve here. So you're suggesting that we should all, in order to be connected with iCloud teaching, we should all be going home and clicking on system preferences
And in here, and let it go through its protocol. What you want to do is make sure you have the same iCloud account on all your devices first. Very similar to how we did for the calendar. You probably all do, but if not, that's the first step. But I'm not suggesting it. I'm saying you have that ability, and why not? Because there's no compromises there. Now, again, it may force you to put a lock on your phone, and I highly recommend that. But does everybody know about Find My iPhone? Who doesn't know about Find My iPhone? Yeah, a lot of you don't know about it, so let's show you that. So if my iPhone gets lost or stolen, I'm going to go to iCloud.com. So if my phone's lost or stolen, I need to go find it. Look at this. I go to somebody's computer, I log in with my Apple ID credentials, and it's asking again, let's use my protocol. I used to have a really simple Apple ID password, and I figured I better live what I preach, so I did. So I can go here, and let's say I've lost my iPhone 6. I can go in here, and when I go into lost mode, if I do not have a passcode lock on my phone, I can initiate a passcode lock on my phone. And once there's a passcode lock on your phone, even Apple can't get into it. And the beauty of it is, Apple initiated this, the theft rate of iPhones dropped 65%. Because only dumb people buy locked iPhones anymore because nobody can unlock them. So the value of this phone on the aftermarket, stolen, is gone so low now that it's not worth it, because it's a brick. You can't do anything with it if it's locked. So I can also, by the way, if you lose your phone, I have mine on silent. We talked about that earlier. My phone's on silent. So if I were to call it, it would just vibrate, right? But watch what happens even though it's on silent. Oh, it's pinging through here because I have reflector. I was wondering why it was coming from my Mac. No, because of the thing I'm using to show it on my... I couldn't understand why it's coming from my computer, see? It would be pinging on here. But because I have it connected to this screen, it's playing through here. So it's a way to go find your phone. Now, there's also an app on your phone. So let's show where we go turn that on your phone. Everybody should do this. Grab any or both or all of your iOS devices. Go to Settings. Go to iCloud, about the 12th item. Whoa. Clear history and data. I don't want that. What's happening here? Cancel. Okay. Scroll down and look for Find My iPad or Find My iPhone. Is there anyone that it is not on for right now? Anyone not have it on? Find My iPhone or Find My iPad. Please tell me if you're not. Nobody has it off? Everybody's is on? Speak now or forever lose your phone. Don't do your software update now. Yours is off. We found one. I'm not worried about keychain right now. Find my iPhone. Find my iPhone. Okay. Is there anyone that doesn't have it on besides me? Settings, iCloud. Please have it on. It allows your phone to be found. No, and look. Well, they'll track me. Look, they can already track you by cell phone towers. It has nothing to do with this. And remember, this is Apple. They have no need, nor do they want to track you. Okay? If they get any information in your phone, it's completely anonymous. All right. Ray? Roy, sorry.
Going back to my question, if you use the password that they suggest, FXZ stands
The very long password.
that goes up the keychain.
And then it remembers on everything. But the time you need to log into that account from some other computer, you're in Brazil and you need to get into your bank, you're not going to remember that password. It's at another computer. Not on somebody else's computer, it won't be. If you have your computer with you, yes. That's the problem with that. Carol? Yeah, you can have it on your Mac device also. It's advised. It's not as critical. So if we go into System Preferences, Find My Mac. It's more important on a laptop. Remember, your iPhone can be found all the time because it's always on. I've recovered iPhone for some people because it was on. And again, you can call it, it's like, which car is it in? Is it under the sofa cushion? I had one client who set it down at Costco and tracked it and went back and found it. I had another client whose iPad, they were at the library there on Watt Avenue, and she was there for a meeting. The library was closed. She left the library, put her bag on her car, did all this, and then drove off. Well, the bag with the iPad fell off, and so she calls me. I'm tracking it for her. It kind of felt like this detective movie, more like Pink Panther. But anyway, we tracked it. We could kind of tell where it was. And so she went back there, and the library was closed. She looked in the bushes, kind of where it was, didn't find it there or anything. So we tracked it. I pinged it to see if she could hear it. She couldn't hear it. So she went back the next day, and somebody in her group had found it and put it in the book drop.
Okay, my wife has a separate account.
Mm-hmm.
When you went to the Find My Phone, it said,
You would put, so
Did I change that, put hers and her password to find her phone?
that's how you have to do it. If one of you wants me to track where your phone is, you call me and give me your credentials. Okay? And those credentials, your Apple ID and your password, or you go to any computer and do it. Or you download the app. This isn't the app we're talking about. This was in iCloud. There's an app called Find My Own iPhone or Find My iPad. So if you're walking around with somebody and they lose their phone, you get the app from the App Store from Apple, and it does the same thing we just did on the map here. It locates it, and that does it right there.
So wait a minute, you're saying that Find My iPhone works with the iCloud even if you don't have this app?
The app isn't necessary as long as you have this on in your account to find. So if I lose this phone and I have the Find My iPhone app on it, doesn't matter. But if I have the Find My iPhone app on my iPad, I can locate this phone or anybody else's with their credentials. The app allows you to find other things because if I go to this phone and use the Find My iPhone to find this phone, well, the phone's in my hand. So that it's a little different. They're named the same. This is the capacity for your phone to be found within your system preferences. The app allows you to find yours or someone else's phone. Obviously, you don't need to find the phone that you have in your hand because you know it's in your hand. In the settings where we just turned it on, where we said we have to have it on. That just turns on the ability to use Find My iPhone.
Right, but I thought you had to have the app.
Nope. What good it would? What if I have the app on this phone? What good does it do me if my phone's lost?
Well, you go to.
Now answer. This is a very specific question, and if you answer it, it'll do. What good does it do me if I lose this phone if it has the app on it? What? Bear with me here. What good does it do if this phone is lost if it has Find My iPhone app on it? So I have to have Find My iPhone app on something else to go find this phone. The app allows you to find another phone. If I'm on this phone and I use Find My iPhone app, I obviously know where my phone is because it's in my hand. You're not getting that.
No, because you just said something about the iCloud.
The iCloud is how you do it on a computer, iCloud.com. And in iCloud.com, it's called Find My iPhone.
So what you're saying though is you can use it if you lose it around your phone around the house.
If you lose it anywhere.
You can go to your map and then it'll make your phone make a tone.
Make a tone, but it'll also show you where it is. See how this is locating where I am? So like I had a client who she lost her phone. And we're doing some other stuff and she says, oh, matter of fact, well, I lost my phone, I can't find it. And I said, well, let's locate it. So we immediately went on her computer and found the phone, and it appeared to be in her driveway. She has 2 cars. So we started the sound, and we went in, and we could tell it's in her car, not her husband's car. And she's on the passenger side, I'm on this side, and we both swear it's on the other person's side is what it sounds like. And it had dropped between the seats in the console and would never have been found. It was so far down. And ironically, you'll notice there's a battery indicator right here. And when we got to her phone, or on here, it says she has 3% battery left. If we had not gone and found the phone by then, we would have never found it. We immediately walked upstairs to plug it in and charge it, and by the time we got upstairs to where her computer was, it had died.
And then it won't ping.
What?
And then it won't ping.
No, it won't ping and it won't locate. So, and if your phone is hopelessly lost, you can erase the phone. Once you erase the phone, it's no longer trackable, and it is exactly the way it came from the factory. No way any of your information is left on that phone. Zero. Back here than you.
Even if you try to use the app, it says the phone automatically turns on an activation lock. Is that the thumbprint system that you have to use?
The activation lock is usually not thumbprint. It would be a code.
Passcode.
Yeah, because it can't, if you have a fingerprint in there, it probably won't defeat that.
So if you're trying to do it from a device, you're going to have that 4-digit.
Yeah, you'll make up that 4-digit if it doesn't current. If you have your thumbprint in, you already have a 4-digit number on your phone. So it already locks. You can't put your fingerprint in without having a lock code. So we had a question here?
Yeah, so let's say you erase the iPhone, but the battery is died.
Well, if someone's going to plug it in, great question. So first off, let's take two scenarios. The phone dies. When it gets powered up, it's still got a signal saying erase this phone for me. So that happens. And when you get it back, if you have an iCloud backup or backed up to your computer, you simply plug it in and all your stuff comes back. It's a good question.
I want to go back to the app. If you have the Find My iPhone.
The app allows you to find somebody else's phone. Let's just do it that way.
Okay, that was actually the question I was going to ask. Does that mean you can find any iPhone? I'm not sure.
But you have to have that person's Apple ID and their password.
And so you need a different app if you want to find someone else's iPad?
No, same thing. It's called Find My iPhone is the app. Good question. But again, if I lose my phone, I can find it with my own iPad using my Apple ID sign-in. But this is the one time when you would let someone else use your Apple ID. Like she called me up, hey, Ken, and I'm tracking this while she's driving to there and everything, and it's amazing how accurate it really was, because when it came down to it, it was actually in, and it was an iPad, ironically enough, because the iPhone has better GPS, but it actually was in the exact spot in the library she thought it was. Okay, so, go ahead.
You said if you went into lost mode, it has a lock on the phone?
It can.
You can? Okay, once you eventually find it, how do you unlock it?
So let's say I put a passcode in of 1234. When I find the phone, I type in 1234.
Oh, okay.
Now, if you already have a lock on the phone, you don't have to worry about that because they can't get in anyway. If you have a passcode lock on your phone, your passcode lock on your phone can be 4 digits or it can be a long password. Just use 4 digits. It's such a pain in the butt to enter all that other stuff. Right here, play sound. Actually, let me do it to my I'm going to take the phone off of the thing here. So now I'm going to send a ping to my phone. I am on silent on my phone. Yeah.
I've called it before.
And the problem is, if you call it and you're on silent, and the best part about this is it locates it. It's like, oh, okay, it's in my living room, and then you can ping it, or you go out in the garage and you got 2 cars, you figure out which car it's in with that.
I did once when I located it once instead of in front of the garage, on the driveway side. It actually wasn't there, but I found it in the car. So it wasn't that accurate enough to really.
It depends on your cell phone reception and the GPS. It's pretty darn good. Usually close enough you'll hear the sound. But sometimes if it can see it, it's very accurate.
Yeah, sometimes it's when you, but you can, even if it's on silent, you can't get the phone out the buzz or make a noise when you call if you leave a voicemail message.
Not if you don't have, not if you have it on Do Not Disturb or announcements. Just look, play the sound. It's the only sure way to do it. There's all these other.
If you've done this, a voicemail will still ding.
No, it won't always.
Will on mine.
On yours. But no, it won't always. If you have Do Not Disturb on, it won't do it. That's Do Not Disturb. So this is the only sure way to do it. Okay? We can do all these other scenarios. I'm sure everybody has one, but this is the only sure way. Okay? This is iCloud.com. The app is on the phone. Don't worry about the app. Works exactly the same way. We've spent too much time on that. All right. Okay. Whew. Everybody knows everything about the iCloud now, so we can move on to the Apple Watch.
No.
Too bad. Where were you all morning, right? All right. First off, who here is planning on getting an Apple Watch? It's okay. We gotta maybe not. Okay. Let me know after I tell you some of the things it'll do if other people are you that's on the border. So this was introduced on my birthday in 2007. Steve Jobs introduced the iPhone. It's just a phone, right? No, it's a computer that happens to make phone calls. It's also a wonderful digital camera. So, to say the iPhone's just a phone, I think you're all pretty well convinced it's a hell of a lot more than just a phone. To think about the Apple Watch as a watch is a complete disservice. The iPhone was spectacular before we got apps. Once we got apps, it opened up a huge realm of possibilities. Apps have leveraged the power of the internet so dramatically on the phone and made it actually more powerful than your computer. There's a gyroscope in there. There's an accelerometer. There's a GPS. All those things are not in your laptop or your iMac. So, to think of the watch, you have to really think of the possibilities down the road. I'll be able to unlock my Tesla from the Apple Watch. I'll be able to pay with Apple Pay with my Apple Watch. Now, the Apple Watch, so the iPhone uses the power of the internet, right? The Apple Watch uses the power of your iPhone and the power of the internet. The Apple Watch does not connect to the internet because the battery would last not very long, and we'd have this big old antenna and this little wire sticking out, and you'd probably hook it on everything because it would just take too much battery and too much energy. So, as long as your phone is within 30 feet, or if you're on Wi-Fi, as long as your phone's anywhere in your house, it's connected to your Apple Watch. It does not have to be on you, okay? So, by doing that, by making it so it just has to connect to the iPhone, it only has to transmit power a little bit of a ways. It's called Bluetooth, low energy Bluetooth. And this low energy Bluetooth will allow the Apple Watch battery to last what they say is probably 18 hours. So, it's leveraging the power of the iPhone, which is leveraging the power of the internet. If I get an email, I can simply glance at my watch, it'll show me that. I can initiate and receive telephone calls on my Apple Watch. It's the Dick Tracy thing. It's the Secret Service talking to their cuff. You'll have a small speaker in there and that. You're probably not going to carry a long conversation on that way, but you'll be able to do that. But let's talk about some of the things on the Apple Watch that I perceive that's not been talked about. And I think they're really important going forward. There are tons of apps you can do on it. Like I said, the Tesla app's already been done, not by Tesla, by an independent app developer that'll allow it to unlock the Tesla. There are tons of other things. It can check charging status on a Nissan Leaf. It can show you your maps. So you just glance at where you're needing to go rather than have to look at your phone if you don't have a built-in GPS in your car. But let's think about a scenario. Well, first of all, on the back of the watch, I didn't bring this up. On the back of the watch, there are some sensors. And well, they don't show it. So there are some sensors on the back of the watch that sense your heart rate. Now, let's say you have a heart condition and your heart rate is critical in your care. And it's very important for your doctor. Let's think about this for a second. Your heart rate's critical and you've got to go to the doctor. And you get into the doctor's office because he's going to talk to you about your heart rate, and because you're in the doctor's office and you're worried about what your heart rate's going to be, your heart rate goes up. It's the white coat syndrome. Same thing with blood pressure, happens the same way. But what if your phone can monitor your heart rate 24 hours a day? Now, that's an invasion of privacy, right? No. Your data is your data. If you decided to share it with anybody, you decide to share it to somebody. I can see it tying in with the Kaiser app. If you allow it, it's first and foremost yours and yours alone. Apple doesn't monitor it. But you could have it set so that it can give the doctor your 24-hour reading. So he can look at a chart like that. Again, it's benefiting your health care. You could also set it to only send it if it exceeds a certain threshold or goes below a certain threshold. Oh, there's an information for them there. Think about people that have pacemakers and things like that. How well that would work in those cases. So there's other monitors. They've already developed the ability to do blood glucose monitoring directly through your skin. That will be very soon to the Apple Watch, I'm sure. Now, because it has Bluetooth, it doesn't have to be in the watch. It'll be a device you could have on here that can communicate with the watch, which can communicate with your iPhone, which can communicate with your doctor. So the possibilities of the Apple Watch are huge. There's also a new thing they rolled out very quietly called Research Kit. Medical research and testing is very hard to do because they can't get enough volunteers to do those kinds of things. There's ability to track things with the Apple Watch that makes it so many more people may get into these medical trials, which will inherently help medicine in general, but it's always your choice. Well, let's take, I lost my mother last December, but I thought about her situation in this. I've fallen and I can't get up. Think about an elderly person at home with no caregiver there. And the concern is if they fall, if they lay in bed and can't get up. If you have the Apple Watch on, it could sense the fall. It could alert the person and say, I see you fell. Do you want me to call for help? And you could tap it if it does. And it could immediately call for help. It's the ultimate in I've fallen, I can't get up. Or it could send a text to a loved one if you've set that up that way. This is not implemented yet, but I see this in the near future. But let's think about the other situation where it's not a fall. Let's say your normal wake-up cycle, you get up at 6:30 a.m. every morning and you start moving around. The Apple Watch senses that at 8:30, you're not up and moving around. Now, your heart rate differs between sleeping and wake, and it can sense that. In fact, this is very beneficial for people that have sleep pattern issues. They can chart their sleep patterns just from their pulse. But think about that situation where the person doesn't get up, and maybe at 10 a.m. it's set to, there's what's called a taptic engine in here, a slight little vibration. there's a little vibrator in here that says, it vibrates and says, are you okay? Oh, and you say, oh yeah, I'm okay. So that response means you're okay. If you don't respond, it could give you another taptic one, or it could make a sound. And if not, it could notify whoever you decided to notify. To me, you now have a 24-hour caregiver for most things. It's not going to cook for you, but it'll do everything else. So those benefits are going to manifest themselves over time dramatically. But we got a speaker in, over a year ago that came and talked to us at the general meeting. He's blind, and he uses his iPhone as well as I do because of all the features built into the iPhone. The Apple Watch, because it will have this taptic engine, this slight little vibration. That little vibration, by the way, you know when your phone vibrates, everybody in the room knows it vibrates. When this vibrates, only you are going to know it vibrates. But think about this. They put in their directions in the Apple phone. So I go to my phone and I say, give me directions to the nearest Starbucks.
Getting directions to Starbucks. Starting route to Starbucks. Head east on Musk Drive, then turn left onto
Sorry, I'm trying to get it through the thing here. Anyway, so that would then come up on here. But I want walking directions, and I'm blind, and I get to a street corner. It'll tell me I'm at a street corner. It can give me a taptic feedback and say, brr, means stop. Brr, brr, means turn left. Brr, 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 means turn right. Think of the possibilities of that.
Is it waterproof?
Hang on. That has nothing to do with this, so hang on. So let that sit in for a minute. Think about that. You're driving your car. Hands on the wheel, and we don't do 10 and 2 anymore. It's 9 and 12 now because of airbags, by the way. Okay? And there's always fun facts here. Useless facts. Anyway, I'm going along, and it can buzz me to turn left. I can see the map. It'll show my turn directions. I just have to do this. I don't have to look at my phone or things like that. So even us sighted people will find benefits in that. But think about the possibility for that blind person that can navigate walking down the street and turn where they want to. They still got to watch out for cars, but at least, I mean, the white cane thing, they come up to the edge of the curb and they know, okay, I'm here, but it can actually tell them if they're getting off of their track a little bit. So this is so much more than a watch, and we're only scratching the surface. Now, it also is going to tell time. It'll tell time in multiple languages. It'll tell you times around the world and all that, but it also is a fitness tracker. Now, we'll see if it works. Maybe the incentive I need is an Apple product, so maybe I'll get better. I'll be with you in a second. We got another question there, so hang on. No, hang on. So, the fitness tracker, you can set it to count your steps. You can set it to see how your heart rate goes, like if you're working on a treadmill and you want to achieve a certain level. It'll remind you if you've been sitting at your desk too long. It's very unhealthy to sit at your desk for lengths of time. You get what's called economy class syndrome, where you get phlebitis and things in the legs. It'll say, you haven't gotten up yet, so get up. You can set all that. It's only going to nag you if you want it to nag you, and you can still dismiss the nag. It's an inanimate object. Who cares? Sorry, I'm not going now. You don't have to justify it to anybody. It's your decision. But these are things like any tool that we get from Apple. It's a tool to help you out. So you can set it however you want. It will show you fitness levels. You can set targets. If you want to increase the time you walk each day, it'll kind of chart that. And there's this punishment reward syndrome where, oh, you've accomplished that. Good, you got there. Or, God, I haven't done it. Maybe I need to go walk around the block one more time. Things like that. Those are all going to happen in this. There's other Fitbits and things that do like that, but I think the thing is the Apple Watch, because it leverages the strength of the phone, is going to be dramatic in what it can do. A couple of questions over here and then here.
Did I understand that you can't get on the internet with the watch unless you have an iPhone?
Correct.
I remember
because the battery would, and it has to be an iPhone 5 or newer, and
That doesn't have to be an X. It's an iPhone.
just an iPhone 5 or newer. But the thing is that your iPhone, your Apple Watch, if it was connected to the internet, your battery would last about 10 minutes. And you get really warm on your wrist. So no, it has to leverage the capability. I'm not saying in the future it won't be able to connect itself, but when you think about it, that cell phone tower is probably three miles away. That's a long ways for this little thing to get to it, okay?
Will it automatically synchronize to local time when I travel?
Yes, if your phone is.
If I also have a phone, then it.
You have to have a phone.
Okay, then.
Because your phone picks up its time synchronization by your cell phone towers. Interesting fact, we were talking about Monument Valley earlier, right?
Yeah.
Monument Valley, when you take that, it thinks you're in Arizona and you're really in Utah. So it's an hour off certain times of the year there. Because I took my photos with my Canon and I took my photos with my iPhone and I go, well, this shows, I'm driving down the road and this shows me taking pictures at Monument Canyon. It was because my phone was still on Arizona time, whereas the camera was theirs, so.
Unless you're on a Navajo reservation.
I was on a Navajo reservation, and that was the problem is my phone thought I was in Arizona, not Utah. So.
The reason I wonder it was waterproof is I was wondering.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't answer that.
Determining calorie burn while you're swimming.
It is not water, they won't say waterproof, it's water resistant. But let me show you something. There's a little thing here. So watches all have crowns, right? The little spinning thing. Well, I don't know if they have we'd have to dig in deep and find it. But it has a crown. But it's unique in that that's how it changes screens and things. But here's the deal. The part of the phone, or the part of the watch, this is a plastic module that's in an aluminum case. In this case, this is a sport, it's aluminum. This module pops in and out of that. And the module itself that has the battery, that has the chip, is completely encased in itself. What happens is the crown comes into a recess. It doesn't physically touch anything. It's simply magnetic in the sensing of the magnet. So in essence, this whole plastic case is impervious to outside things because it's one big plastic thing. The button is the same. The button, there's nothing intruding in the cell of the watch because the same innard, the $349 sport watch, is the same innards as the $17,000 iWatch edition. So, we'll talk about prices briefly and we'll talk about the models for the 3 people that are going to get the watch. Like I have to convince them, come on. I'm getting one because of you guys. Well, actually I could lie and say I'm getting it because my mom said I had to before she passed away. Last Thanksgiving and we were sitting around the table and mom tried to keep up on this stuff and she says, well, you know, how much are those Apple Watches? And I said, well, they're going to be at $349 and they're going to go up to probably 10 grand. And she says, a little bit more, my brother and I were doing some other stuff and she says, well, you know, your birthday and Christmas are pretty close together. And why don't you just get yourself an Apple Watch and that'll be your Christmas and birthday present. And I said, oh, the $10,000 one? And my mom said, no, the $349 one. So yeah, actually, so they have 3 models. They have the sport model. Oh, here's the sensors on the back, by the way. And by the way it charges is a magnetic thing goes to the back. So remember I'm talking about this thing being completely sealed? It uses conductive charging to charge it. It should charge in 2 hours, I believe is what they're saying. Lasts for about 18 hours. So in the scenario of the person that needs 24-hour observance, they might have to have 2. Because at some point it's going to have to be on the charger. So they have, in order of pricing, starts at $349 for the sport. The Sport uses don't call it a plastic band or a rubber band, it's a fluoroelastomer plastic. And the case is aluminum, and it uses a Gorilla Glass kind of plastic, very similar to your phone, to your iPhone. That starts at $349. $349 and $399, depending on the size. There's two different sizes, 38 millimeter and 42 millimeter, I believe it is, which is kind of, it's typical in watches, it's this length here. Then you have the Apple Watch. $549 or $599? I think it's $599 starting, and it's $50 more for the slightly bigger one. It's a little different in that it's a stainless steel case, so it's stronger than the aluminum, but the big thing is it has a sapphire crystal. The only thing stronger than sapphire is diamond, and the only thing that can scratch sapphire is diamond. So this watch face, only expensive watches actually have sapphire crystals. And that's why they don't scratch over time. You can scratch it, but it's really, really difficult. Cracking is a problem with sapphire, for instance on a phone. But on this case, since the surface area is so small, structurally it's not likely to crack. Then you have the Apple Watch Edition, so wonderfully named. Yeah, 1% are those that want to people to think they're 1%ers. It starts at $10,000. It can, okay, he said the new Rolex, I'll talk about that in a second. It can go up to $17,000 depending on the band. And if you're going to spend the band. Yeah, the Rolling Stones come and play. Actually, they don't call them bands, they call them bracelets. Because you're spending so much on that band, it's a bracelet. So we'll show those in a second, but the idea here is it's 18 karat gold. It's in white gold or also in rose gold. And Apple has a unique process. Gold is very soft. Apple has a special patented process. 18 karat gold is usually bonded to other alloys because gold itself is soft. It's bonded to other alloys to get 18 karat. What they've done here is they've bonded it with ceramic. So it's very, very strong. Ironically, they can use less gold and still be called 18 karat. But again, we don't think there'll be a lot of people here. Believe me, they'll usher you off into a separate room. If you want to look at this, you'll make an appointment. Instead of spending 10 minutes with you, they spend up to a half an hour. You're going to see this on a lot of celebrities' wrists. And remember, Apple doesn't give these things away. Okay? They buy them. My thought is the Sport, I can see where people would have two watches. The Sport, because it's lighter, it's aluminum, and it's the one you don't care about so much. Somewhat dressy in different bands if you want to go with the stainless steel. But my tack is go here first and then see what happens in year 2.
You know, I had a thought. I have a case where somebody's got to have it 24 hours, so they get a Sport and a watch.
They could.
There's one to be charging.
Yeah, but the charging time, I mean, you can usually find 2 hours of downtime. So.
But if you're using it to track your diabetes.
Head north on Android Way toward Catalina Drive.
We know where he's going. The Starbucks that we tried to do earlier. Generally speaking, it could possibly, depends on how the diabetes tracking is. If it's a separate device, the phone could be on the charger and still track it. Now, I said we can use it for Apple Pay. But remember, Apple Pay is very secure. So what happens if I'm asleep, somebody takes my Apple Watch off, and they decide to go buy tickets to the Rolling Stones? Well, thieves wouldn't be doing that. It'd be old people. Anyway, so the problem is, as soon as the watch detects there's no pulse, that tie-in, that security is no longer, and it will take, when you put it back on a live body, I'm trying to turn my phone on, there we go. When you put it back on a live body, what'll happen is you'll have to authorize it with your phone again. either with your fingerprint or your passcode. So what that does, if you go to the gym and you take it off, put it in your locker, when you put it back on, if you're going to use Apple Pay or any of the more secure features, it says, I wasn't on this person's arm, I need to reauthorize. And that way you're very secure, so people can't go ring up $17,000 Apple Watches on your credit card. There are some sizing things on here. There's just tons of different bands. This Milanese loop is incredible. I want to also, we got just enough time. So the Milanese loop is this beautiful little wire thing. I had a site with all the, and it can have a good old digital face, or you know what, they have a neat little Mickey Mouse. Its faces can change. You can have different watches. Now you said about Rolex. Most expensive watches, Rolexes keep crappy time. There's other good, quartz watches keep better time than a Rolex. But those high-end watches, the Omegas, the Picards, I mean, any of those, they're legacy or heirloom type watches. They're things you hand down to generation to generation to generation. What's interesting, though, is the new generation isn't buying those kinds of watches anymore. So don't hold out hope that the Rolex is going to be able to hand it off to somebody else. It's probably not likely going to happen. But I don't think these are going to be heirloom devices, but I think they're going to have some capabilities built in. The module inside it, when they come out with a new version, may be able to pop into it. But I'm under no misconception that it's going to be an heirloom device. So I say let's get used to it, buy less expensive, and then see what happens. And there's like that's the Milanese loop. I think this one's really neat. I personally am going to probably get the aluminum Sport that's black anodized with a black band. That's just me. I mean, but it's space gray. But they have a black stainless steel also with black bands. This Milanese loop I really like. This band is $149, or this bracelet is $149, and it loops through and comes down. And this is a magnetic clip, so it fits any wrist. It just goes and it just stays right there.
The guts are all the same.
I'm sorry?
No matter the $350 watch and the $10,000.
Guts are the same.
Guts are the same.
Guts are the same. Yep. So, like watch, it's all about like other watches, it's all about fashion. This is another interesting band. This comes around and magnetically clips. But I'll point out the unique thing here is how the band attaches is it slides into this oblong hole, and there's a little release button. So what happens is it slides in there. So that's why any watch can have any band. Okay? Go ahead.
Does the watch come with a band?
Yes, the watch will come with a band, and then you can order extra bands. And then I wanted to point out here, there's a new, here is accessories are already out there. I kind of like this. I just found this. This is like a screen protector. So if you get the Sport watch, it doesn't have the really, really hard screen. There's a screen protector right there. So
Made in USA. Wow.
this thing is. The watch isn't.
Is there any skin reaction?
I'm sorry?
Whenever I get an inexpensive watch, I get a skin reaction to them. I can't use them.
So my recommendation would be, because you said when you get an inexpensive watch, you get that, but it's probably just the rubberized band, even if it was more expensive watch. Metal bands don't give you that issue, or not?
No, it is the metal.
Oh, it's the metal.
It's uranium. Right.
So you know, with Apple, they stand behind it. So you might want to see how it is with the floor. I mean, they've done tons of testing, but skin's a unique thing. And the back of what touches you, I don't necessarily think is metal. I think it's more of the plastic innards. We'll know more on the 10th when you have a hands-on with it. But, you know, they're pretty good about, I mean, everybody's a little different and everybody reacts. You know, some people are allergic to latex and things like that. So I can't say for sure, but they try to take care of all that stuff. Watchkeeper, charging travel case. Oh, click adapter. All right, so one last thing before we go to questions and answers here. There's a brand new MacBook out. It's 2 pounds and about the same thickness. So the same weight and the same thickness as the original iPad. And it's a Mac. It's not a high-end Mac, but it's luscious. It's really neat. Has a bunch of new features on it. It will be available on April 10th. It's not out yet. If you want to try this new trackpad, it's a special trackpad that doesn't move, but when you click it, it feels like it clicks. It's actually got a little electronic, a little armature in there that just vibrates, and you could swear it clicks. It doesn't click. The thing powers down completely, and it won't click, but you swear it feels like it clicks. There's some new features this is going to bring out. The new the MacBook Pro 13-inch Retina has it on it, and it's already in the Apple Store. But the new MacBook will have this, and it's pretty amazing. And we think that in the near future, we may get it on the iPhone or the iPad, and it will allow you to have pressure-sensitive styluses. So those of you that are creative and artists, it will allow you to increase or decrease the brush sensitivity. So starts at $12.99, I want to say. I think it's $12.99 or $15.99, isn't it? It's not a power machine by any means. It's just a you're not going to do huge Photoshop or videos on it, but it is a very capable machine. It's just don't think of it as a MacBook Pro. All right, Apple Watch now. Did I convince anyone else to maybe look more into the Apple Watch? Because that's my job, is to sell more Apple products, right? Well, wait, I'm a stockholder, so yeah, I guess it is my job. Don't take stock tips from me. I do opposite what I do. Like Pete with his predictions, you want to do the opposite of that. With me, my stock tips, I buy high and never sell. But at least I buy high.
These features for all people monitoring your safety, they too require you to have an iPhone along with it, or not have it with it.
The feature, I didn't follow that.
To be on the internet.
The thing can monitor whether I'm well.
Yeah, but it's still tied to an iPhone.
Yeah, in order to help to connect to others, I need an iPhone.
In close proximity. Can be across the house. But the Apple Watch will do some things on its own without your watch. It'll do tracking of health and things like that. But it really needs to be tied to a phone. But if you're going out for a run, you don't have to take your phone with you. It will log what you've done and then hook to the phone later. Yeah. Yeah. And it has this little thing. Basically, it'll kind of be asleep most of the time because that's how it conserves battery. But when you go like this, it turns the display on. It senses that. And yes, it can work for left-handed people. It's just reversed and the crown is there. It's a little bit inconvenient for a left-handed person. Back there first and then you. Okay, go ahead.
You can't use Apple Pay with an iPhone 5.
No, but you can use Apple Pay with an iPhone 5 and the Apple Watch because it has the what's called NFC chip in it. That's what's the requirement of Apple Pay. It's a very secure chip. Yeah, and that's part of the reason I got the big Apple phone is I will not really have to pull this out of my case very often because everything's going to be on my Apple Watch that my mom ordered me to get. So I have 2 reasons to get it. You can pair it with any iPhone, and as long as he's in close proximity to you, it'll work just fine. But and in the future, it may have more autonomous things, but right now, it's not a standalone. We talked about a little bit of the iCloud being full, and we talked about how to take old devices out of there. And you know what? It's cheap to buy more iCloud space. You guys, if you make new passwords, go up. I'll show you where you can go get a password sheet if you'd like. Same place. Today's video will be posted eventually. Thanks, Carol. Remind me again. I'll do it. If you go to kenspencer.com, under Mac Sheets, if you click on Mac Sheets, this is a Mac keyboard shortcut, but it's a place you can put all your passwords in. And by the way, if I open this in preview, I can go here and just click here and start typing my passwords in there. or you can fill it out by hand. So you can save this, put it in a place, but remember, if you use the new password protocol, you won't have to keep it anywhere. But also back at my website, if you click here, classes, and you click on my YouTube video archive, all the classes I've done, including today, will be there. They're completely unedited, but it goes through. Remember, we had the settings for the default calendar and things. You'll be able to find them up here. And I will get those up later this week. All right.